everyone. Welcome to the presentation. Once again, this is New Journey Housing, and we are a resource center for newcomers housing. And by resource center, I mean we give information to newcomers regarding housing. But before I start, I want to do acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and that this land is the traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We want to thank the host community for their hospitality. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We also are thankful for the clean water we get from Shore Lake. So, New Journey Housing, currently because of the COVID-19, we are working from home, but otherwise our address is 305 Broadway. We are in the second floor. Our telephone number 204-942-2238. And our email info@newjourneyhousing.com. We work from Monday to Friday from 9:30 to 5 p.m. Because we are private funded, we receive everybody. So our clients are newcomers to Canada. I mean permanent residents, naturalized Canadians, international students, temporary foreign workers, refugee claimant, everybody. And we have 4 workshops. Rental workshop, which is 2 hours. In a rental workshop, we talk about rights and responsibilities of tenants and landlords. We have also home purchasing workshop, buying a house workshop, which is also 2 hours. In our home purchasing workshop, we talk about mortgages. And we have also budgeting, income and expenses, which is also 2 hours. And money management, investment and taxes. So before we start our workshop, you remember that we talked in part 1, we talked about spending plan. We talked about spending calendar in part 1, money management workshop. Spending plan, spending calendar. We also talked about setting financial goals. And we also talked about needs and wants. We talked also about tracking your spending by using either envelope method, receipt method, and account book method. This is what we talked in part 1. Now, welcome to part 2. So if you go to our website, www.newjourneyhousing.com, you will find a lot of information about renting, buying a house, money management, budgeting. Or if you go to our our Instagram and Facebook, you are going to find a lot of information. Also, if you go to our website, you are going to find booklets about renting, buying a house, and money management. But otherwise, if you come to our office, you can get a copy. So today we are going to talk about credit, good credit, bad credit. Where can you get a credit? Cost of credit, credit cards, credit pit, and identity theft. So welcome to the workshop. Credit. This is borrowing money you do not have. You borrow money either from a friend or from a bank or a credit union. We are going to talk about all this. So a credit is borrowing money you don't have. You borrow, you buy now, and you pay later. Of course, by borrowing the money, you are using, this money you borrow is not yours. You are using somebody's money. That is why you are going to pay back with a fee, because you are using his or her money. So the fee you pay includes interest on the money you borrow, plus any service charges. And when you borrow money, make sure to understand the interest and any service charges. There is a good debt and a bad one. Talking about good debt, the good debt will help you in the future. You borrow money, you use it, but it will help you in the future. For example, education. You borrow money to go, or student loan, to go to university or college, but you are planning in the future, you are going to get a job. So it's an investment in the future. So this is a good debt. You buy a house, you borrow money to buy a house. You build equity. It's an investment. This is a good debt. But a bad one, bad debt. You borrow money for things that will disappear soon, or you can live without. For example, you borrow money, you go on a holiday, vacation, you go to US on a holiday, or you buy very expensive car or an expensive phone. So this is the difference between a good debt, which will help you in the future, and a bad debt, where you borrow but for things that will disappear soon, or even you can live without. There are things you have to consider when you borrow money. So please, before borrowing, make sure your payments are within your budget. Make sure you can pay back. Make sure your budget, you have enough money to pay back. And when you borrow, please, can you shop around to find the best way to borrow for your lowest interest rate and fees, plus the terms of payment. So shop around to see where you can get the lowest, the best interest rate and fees, or even the terms of payment. And when you borrow money, be sure to understand the interest and the fees they are charging. If you don't understand, ask questions to your lender. Ask questions to the lender. but don't sign if you don't understand interest and fees. And when you borrow, pay as much as you can each month towards your debt. Of course, if the contract allows you to do that, you are going to save a lot of money. For example, if you are told, pay back maybe every month, maybe 200. If you get a better job or a second job, ask them, how much can I pay extra? So if you pay extra money, you are going to save a lot of money on interest. It will reduce the maximum time you are going to finish to pay for the money you borrow. So make sure to understand how much extra you can pay without a penalty. It should be written in your contract. And where can you borrow money, or where can you get a credit? Number one, you can get a credit from the banks. Personal loan, if you want a loan from the bank, go to your bank, apply for a loan, or student loan, or car loan, or a mortgage if you want to buy a house, or line of credit, or overdraft protection. So these are ways you can borrow money from the bank. Talk to your bank and see which one do you like, which one do you want. Also, you can borrow money from credit cards. If you are using Visa or MasterCard or stores, credit cards. These are credit. Make sure to pay back on time. Or you can borrow money from the stores. Maybe, for example, furniture, or rent to own, or don't pay a cent event, or cell phones, or from a car dealerships. And you can borrow from these stores. Or also, there are payday lenders, pawn shops. You will see around the city here, payday lenders, or pawn shops, or check cashing. But I want to mention here this way of borrowing money with payday lenders, pawn shops, check cashing outlets. They have a very, very high interest. Normally, we don't recommend people to go and borrow money from these because the interest is very high. You can also borrow money from a credit card, credit union. So there are banks and credit unions. You can also borrow money from the credit unions. Personal loan, student loan, car loan, mortgage, line of credit, or overdraft in a credit union or in the bank. So when you borrow money, there is a cost of credit. There is a cost of credit. For example, if you go to a furniture store or go to anywhere, you want, for example, to buy a sofa. You want to buy a sofa. You see the picture there. If you pay cash, if you make cash, then you are going to pay $999. This is just an example. In our case here, the sofa, cash money, if we have cash, you are going to pay $999. But you tell them, oh, I don't have this amount of money. They will say, no problem. You can get a credit. Simply, you will pay 99.88 every month. 99.88 every month for 24 months. We are going to calculate now the cost of the credit. Once again, if we have the cash, we are going to pay $999, almost $1,000. But if you don't have cash, you are applying for a credit, no problem. You are going to pay 99.88 every month, almost 100, for 24 months. Now, we advise to our clients, before taking items on credit, can you please sit down, calculate the total cost of your credit. Calculate the total cost of your credit. We can take this example. We are going to calculate the total cost of the credit. So we said monthly payment, 99.88. And you are going to pay for 24 months, which is the total amount you are going to pay, $2,397.1. $2,397.1. And remember, if you have cash money, you are going to pay $999. Now the cost of the credit. You see the purchase price, we subtract. Now the cost of the credit, $1,398.12. Even it is more expensive than the original price. So people, we are really advise you, before taking items on credit, can you first of all sit down, calculate the cost of the credit? Then think about it. If you are comfortable, you agree, then sign, go for it. If you don't agree, leave it. But first of all, calculate the cost of the credit. There is another example. I have another example. A car. For example, I took an example of a car. You see the picture, beautiful car. The yellow one, very beautiful. This small car, the price of this car is brand new car, $20,000. $20,000. Somebody went to buy this car, but of course he didn't have this 20,000 cash with him. So he paid 5,000 as a deposit. And he was asked to pay 500 every month for 5 years. Now, can we calculate the cost of the credit? In this case, we have realized that some people, when they take either a car or a furniture or any item, some people don't calculate the cost of the credit. In this example of a car, of a vehicle, let us calculate the cost of the credit. Now, monthly payment, $500 every month. How many years? 5 years. 5 years, how many months? 60 months. 5 years. Now, the total amount this gentleman will pay is $30,000. $30,000. And he gave a deposit of $5,000. Now, the total amount, he's going to pay $35,000 at the end of 5 years. $35,000. And the price of the car is $20,000. $20,000. Now, you can see the cost of the credit, the total amount of cost of credit, $15,000. It's almost another brand new car. So once again, if you want to buy a car on credit, can you sit down, calculate the cost of the credit, and take a decision if you agree or not? And suppose this car, at the end of 5 years, this gentleman has paid $35,000. Now, at the end of 5 years, suppose this gentleman wants to sell this car. He wants to sell the car. How much do you think he will get? How much do you think he will get after 5 years? Maybe he will get 5,000 or 10,000. Yeah, so when you buy cars, they depreciate. So once again, think about all this when you borrow money to buy item. Think about it. Think about the cost of the credit. And there is here example of cost of credit at ACU, Assiniboine Credit Union. This is just an example. ACU means Assiniboine Credit Union. So as you can see on the screen, remember the car, the price of the car is $20,000. The car is $20,000. If you have cash money, $20,000. Now, if you go to ACU, you apply for a loan to buy a car. You are going to pay interest, annual interest rate. In this case, 6.7%. 6.7%. Now, by doing this, you are going to pay every month, $391.30. This is the amount of money you are going to pay every month. For how many months? For 5 years or 60 months. 5 years or 60 months. Look now, the cost of borrowing money. At the end of 5 years, you are going to pay $23,590.10. $23,590.10. Now you can see the cost of the credit. Original price of the car, $20,000. Total amount you are going to pay will be 23.590.1. So the cost of the credit will only be 3,590.10. You can see the difference now. Borrowing money from ACU and or go to the car dealership. So take a decision before borrowing money. Now let me talk about credit cards. Credit cards. Remember, credit cards can be a very expensive way to borrow money. They can be a very expensive way to borrow money. If we pay the whole bill on time, if we pay the whole amount on time, there is no charge. There is no charge. And once again, we advise people to use credit cards because they are building their credit history. If you pay on time, there is no charge. But if you pay only the minimum amount you owe, it will be very costly because the interest will continue to be added to the amount owed, which is, it is a compound interest. So the compound interest, they are going to add the interest on your the money borrowed, and they calculate interest again based on the new amount. It's a compound interest. So you are going to pay a big amount of interest. So when you make minimum payment on time, be very careful, because you are going to pay a lot of interest, a lot of money. But by paying minimum on time, by making minimum payment on time, you have a good credit. You have a good credit. But remember, it is very costly. You are going to pay a lot of money. But you have a good credit. So credit cards are only scary if you use them without thinking. If you use credit cards, use them very wisely. Be wise when you use credit cards. This is what we advise our clients. Be very wise. You have seen probably in the city here, Money Mart, payday loans. As I said, they are much more expensive than most other types of loans offered by banks or credit unions. As I told you, payday loans, pawn shops, I told you these are very expensive. Interest rate is very expensive. And we normally don't advise our clients to use these types of borrowing money because the interest rate is very expensive, very high. So before you apply for payday loans, understand, please, understand the fees. Ask them about the fees and charges you will have to pay. You have to make sure you understand what are the fees and the charges you are going to pay. Ask them, please. Interest on an unpaid loan will compound on your next payday. Compound interest, and it is very, very expensive. That is why I advise you to please, before you apply for a payday loan, understand the fees and charges you will have to pay. Ask Money Mart. And if you don't understand the fees or charges, please don't sign. Don't sign. Make sure, first of all, you understand. Credit pit. We are going to talk about the credit pit. What does it mean? A pit, credit pit. You are in the credit pit if one, you cannot make minimum payments. And on a credit card, every month, you are going to receive a credit card statement. Towards the bottom, you will see minimum payment, maybe $20, maybe $50, depending on your limit. So now, if you cannot make minimum payments, those minimum payments, you are in the credit pit. You are in the credit pit if you take cash advances from living expenses. Yeah? You are in the credit pit if you do not know, you don't know how much you owe. You are confused, you don't know how much you owe. You don't know how much to pay. And you are in the credit pit if you cannot get out of debt. You cannot get out of debt. You are in the credit pit. And also you are in the credit pit if you use one credit card to make payments on another credit card. For example, some people have maybe 2 credit cards. Now you are using one credit card to make payment on the other one. In this case, you are really in a credit pit. And make sure to understand all this. Make sure to understand all this. This is the credit pit. And make sure you avoid being in a credit pit. If you need help with all these financial issues, credit cards, you can approach the specialist. If you need more help, we advise you to go to Community Financial Counseling Services. You can even go to their website. You can search www.cfcs.mb.ca. Or you can go to Credit Counseling Society. You can even go to their website and you will find a lot of information, or you can go to their office, meet a specialist. He or she will help you to understand the financial world. Now, talking about identity theft. You see that picture there? How can somebody steal your identity? How? Maybe if I come to get your documents, we are going to talk about it. So identity theft, it is a serious crime. Serious crime. So your personal information, for example, if I have your documents and I can see your name, maybe your driving license, or your permanent resident card, or social insurance number, your Manitoba health card. I have all your papers, all your documents. So I can pretend to be you. I can use it. So this one can be used and I can commit fraud in your name. In your name. I can pretend to be you and I can commit a fraud in your name. With a stolen social insurance number or permanent resident card, plus your postal code and date of birth, for example, on Manitoba health card, there are your names, first and last names, date of birth, if you have a family, your children, date of birth, your wife, and so on. Someone can steal your identity and obtain false lines of credit or debt in your name. In your name. So we will advise you, be very, very careful. So things, basic things, these are basic things to remember to avoid identity theft. Identity theft. Never give your online banking username, password, or PIN to anyone, even close friends or family. This is your personal. Yeah? Make sure you use the correct bank webpage before logging on, and that you can see the secured lock symbol. For example, you see here, you see the lock, and you see the padlock, and there is S, HTTPS. If there is no S, you are not on a secure site. You see S and the padlock. Make sure you are on a secure site before logging in your credit card information. Always remember to sign off from your online account and close the web browser after using a computer or a smartphone. Always sign off. As I said, never give out your personal information unless necessary. Unless necessary. In fact, I will advise you, if you go around, keep your documents at home. You can go with your Manitoba health card and with your driving license. These are the most documents people ask. Your driving license or your Manitoba health card. Leave other documents at home. As I said, your social insurance number, permanent resident card. So leave those documents at home. Maybe you can go with Manitoba health card and your driving license.
Hey,
So these are things you, yes.
Sorry, we just had a question. So if someone has your driver's license information and other information like your date of birth and your address, but they don't have your social insurance number, can they still get credit in your name?
So it will be very difficult, but we advise you to keep your documents separate or secret because they can use them for other purposes. Maybe if they have your Manitoba health card and they call Canada Revenue, it is good that Canada Revenue, they are going to ask security questions. They will ask social insurance number. So it will be very difficult to make a fraud if they don't have a lot of information about you. So it will be very difficult.
Yeah, best thing to do is memorize your social insurance number.
Yeah. Because Canada, if they call Canada Revenue, they are going to be asked security questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is good to memorize the social insurance number.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That's all the questions for now. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so we talked about the credit today, where you can get a credit, banks or credit union, and some people are not aware about the difference between a bank and a credit union. We talked about the credit, the cost of the credit, and identity theft. And if there are questions, otherwise we are at the end of the presentation. So if there is any question coming up, let me know.
Sure, wonderful. Thanks, Azarius. Thanks for all this information about credit and identity theft. And it's always shocking to know the real cost of credit. So weighing whether I should buy it now when I don't have all the money and doing it on credit, or I should wait until I have cash to buy it. That's always what you're trying to balance, right? You might really want that new TV, but trying to figure out if you want it now or if you want it later. Those are always tough decisions, but it's good to know all this information. So yeah, we don't have any more questions at this time, but if anybody wants to put some stuff up in the chat for a question, I'd be happy to ask Azarius. And to let everybody else know, this is Money Management Part 2. We will be having Money Management Part 3, which is more about investments and income tax and stuff like that. So like TFSAs and RRSPs, your high risk investment versus your low risk investment, those types of things. We did.
Oh. Cody, you are broken. Hello? Oh, you are coming broken, Cody.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry guys, my kid is playing on the iPad, so then the internet gets bad. But yeah, we will have Money Management Part 3, and just keep connected with us through our emails, Instagram, Facebook, and we will advertise that way. If you have any other questions, you can send me or Azarius an email. We're all on the website, newjourneyhousing.com. And thank you all for coming. I'm so glad that you all were here, and we will end the workshop now. So thank you. Thanks, Azarius.
Thank you, Cody.
Okay, take care, everybody. Stay well.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.